All India Radio presents Morning News. Good morning. I am Abhishek Mukhopadhyay and with me is Sunil Verma. The headlines. Campaigning for Uttarakhand and Goa Assembly elections and second phase of polling in Uttar Pradesh ends this evening. Voting to be held on Monday. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says country's Indo-Pacific Ocean Initiative contains marine resources as key pillar. Quad foreign ministers say they are committed to keep Indo-Pacific free from coercion, denounce use of terrorist proxies. India and Australia to finalize interim trade agreement in 30 days. First phase of budget session of Parliament concludes, both houses to reassemble on the 14th of March for the second part. Government to launch Smile scheme today for welfare of marginalized individuals. Uttar Pradesh to open all schools from Monday amid declining COVID cases. Mughal Gardens at Rashtrapati Bhavan to open for public from today. In cricket, India beat West Indies by 96 runs in the third ODI to sweep the series 3-0. And New Zealand women set 276-run target before India in the first ODI at Queenstown. With the new Omicron variant of coronavirus causing concern, we appeal to our listeners to be vigilant and to get fully vaccinated and help others, including children between 15 and 18 years, to get vaccinated. Please continue to follow these 3 simple steps to stay safe. Wear a face mask. Maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing. Focus on hand and face hygiene. For any COVID-related information and guidance, contact National Helpline numbers 011 2397 8046 and 1075. And now the news in detail. Campaigning for the single-phase assembly elections in Uttarakhand and Goa and the second phase of polling in Uttar Pradesh will end this evening. Polling for 70 assembly constituencies in Uttarakhand and 40 seats in Goa will be held on Monday, along with second phase voting for 55 constituencies in Uttar Pradesh. Uttar Pradesh is going to polls in 7 phases. After the completion of the first phase of polling in the state, all political parties are now focusing on the remaining phases. Polling for the first phase of assembly elections in Uttar Pradesh was held in 58 assembly constituencies spread over 11 districts on the 10th of this month. Over 60% voter turnout was registered in this phase. The star campaigners and prominent leaders of various political parties are engaged in public rallies in Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand and Goa as campaigning nears culmination. The door-to-door canvassing and virtual appeals to the voters also continue. Political parties have also intensified their efforts to move voters for the third phase in Uttar Pradesh and single-phase polling in Punjab. 59 assembly constituencies across 16 districts will go to polls in Uttar Pradesh in the third phase on the 20th of this month, along with all the 117 seats in Punjab.
In Uttar Pradesh, political parties will be making last-ditch efforts to woo the voters as campaigning for the second phase of assembly elections nears culmination. AIR correspondent reports that the cacophony of electioneering will fall silent this evening on the 55 seats of 9 districts of the state, where polling will be held on the 14th of this month in the second phase. Yesterday, senior BJP leader and Union Home Minister Amit Shah addressed a public meeting in Shahjahanpur district, while senior party leader and Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath held a road show in Bareilly district. Both districts will go to polls in the second phase. The state is going to polls in 7 phases. Campaigning is also gaining momentum for remaining phases in the state. Senior BJP leader and Prime Minister Narendra Modi will address a rally in Tirva of Kannauj district today. The Prime Minister will jointly address 10 assembly seats of Kannauj, Etawah, Auraiya and Farrukhabad districts. Samajwadi Party leader Akhilesh Yadav will campaign for party candidates in Firozabad district, while Congress leader and Chhattisgarh Chief Minister Bhupesh Baghel will campaign in Fatehpur district. In Uttarakhand, political temperatures are set to soar on the last day of campaigning today as the state heads for assembly elections on Monday. 632 candidates are in the fray for 70 assembly seats in the state. On the last day of campaigning, Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister and BJP leader Yogi Adityanath will campaign in Tehri, Kotdwar and Roorkee constituencies for the party candidates. Congress leader Priyanka Gandhi Vadra will hold public meetings in Khatima, Haldwani and Srinagar. In Goa, campaigning for the single-phase assembly election will come to an end today. Polling will be held on Monday on 40 constituencies in the state. Political leaders of BJP, Congress, TMC and Aam Aadmi Party are making last-ditch efforts to woo the voters. We have a report.
Addressing election meetings in Goa, BJP National President JP Nadda exhorted people to vote in favor of party candidates to speed up development of Goa. Mr. Nadda said only BJP can fulfill dreams of golden Goa. Senior BJP leader Smriti Irani said the party takes care of every section of society, but opposition parties including Congress consider caste and religion before doing any work. Senior Congress leader Rahul Gandhi said BJP never talks about core issues of Goa. Aam Aadmi Party convener and Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal called upon people of Goa not to waste their vote and to vote for Aap if they want Goa to develop under an honest government. TMC leader Susmita Dev appealed people to teach a lesson to defectors. Leaders of NCP and Shiv Sena also hold door-to-door meeting to attract electorate. Krishna Kumar Lal, AIR News, Panji, Goa.
In West Bengal, voting is underway for 4 municipal corporations, Siliguri, Bidhannagar, Asansol and Chandarnagar. Polling began at 7 this morning and will continue till 5 p.m. A total of 19,36,462 voters are expected to cast their vote for 227 wards of 4 municipal corporations. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that the country's Indo-Pacific Ocean Initiative contains marine resources as a key pillar. Addressing the One Ocean Summit virtually yesterday, the Prime Minister said, India has always been a maritime civilization and emphasized that its security and prosperity are linked to oceans.
India has always been a maritime civilization. Our ancient scriptures and literature talk about the gifts of the oceans, including marine life. Today, our security and prosperity are linked to oceans. India's Indo-Pacific Ocean Initiative contains marine resources as a key pillar.
In his address, Mr. Modi said India is committed to eliminating single-use plastic. He said the country recently undertook a nationwide awareness campaign to clean plastics and other wastes from coastal areas.
We hope for a legally binding international treaty this year. India is committed to eliminating single-use plastic. India recently undertook a nationwide awareness campaign to clean plastic and other waste from coastal areas. 300,000 young people collected almost 13 tons of plastic waste. I have also directed our Navy to contribute 100 ship days this year to cleaning plastic waste from the seas. India will be happy to join France in launching a global initiative on single-use plastics.
The first phase of the budget session of Parliament ended yesterday. Both the Houses of Parliament were adjourned to meet again on the 14th of March for the second part of the session after nearly a months-long recess. The budget session had begun with President Ram Nath Kovind's joint address to both Houses of Parliament assembled together at the Central Hall on the 31st of January. The second part of the budget session will conclude on the 8th of April. In the Rajya Sabha, Deputy Chairman Harivansh, during his observation yesterday, said the first part of the session did not witness any forced adjournment and the upper house functioned half an hour more than its scheduled time. He termed the session as effective and positive and expressed hope that this spirit will continue in the future. Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla, while presiding over the proceedings of the House on the last day of the first phase of the budget session, appreciated the active participation and constructive cooperation of all the members.
सदस्यों ने सदन में देर रात तक बैठते हुए अपने संवैधानिक दायित्वों को प्रतिबद्धता के साथ निभाया, जिससे हम 121% उच्च कार्य उत्पादकता प्राप्त कर सके। सदन में माननीय राष्ट्रपति जी के अभिभाषण पर चर्चा के लिए आवंटित 12 घंटे के समय के स्थान पर 15 घंटे 13 मिनट चर्चा हुई, जिसमें 60 मान्य सदस्यों ने भाग लिया।
India and Australia have announced reaching an understanding on the interim trade agreement and finalizing it in the next 30 days. The India-Australia Comprehensive Economic Cooperation Agreement, CECA, is expected to be concluded in 12 months thereafter. The announcement was made by Union Minister of Commerce and Industry Piyush Goyal and Australian Minister for Trade, Tourism and Investment, Dan Tehan, during a joint press conference in New Delhi yesterday after the conclusion of 3-day talks. The two nations are expected to sign the interim agreement in March this year, and the areas covered under it should include goods, services, rules of origin, sanitary and phytosanitary measures, customs procedure, and legal and institutional issues. Mr. Piyush Goyal said that he had very fruitful discussions with his Australian counterpart and significant progress has been made in advancing the free trade agreement between the two countries.
To give credit to Minister Tehan, we have transcended from diplomacy to openness, and that itself has been the defining feature of this negotiation. India and Australia are not only linked by the great Indian Ocean, but we are connected by history, our shared interests in global peace, in a transparent world order, the prevalence of rule of law in the way businesses are conducted, and therefore there's a lot of geopolitical angle and interest also in this partnership that we have got into.
The Quad foreign ministers have said they are committed to promoting the free, open, rules-based order in the Indo-Pacific, which is rooted in international law and undaunted by coercion to bolster security and prosperity in the region and beyond. At the fourth meeting of the Quad foreign ministers at Melbourne in Australia, the leaders also denounced the use of terrorist proxies for cross-border terrorism. At the meeting, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar, along with his counterparts from the US, Australia and Japan, asserted that Afghan territory should not be used to threaten or attack any country. In his remarks at the meeting, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar called for a free and open Indo-Pacific. He also urged member nations to work towards ensuring a rule-based international order.
In view of the declining trend in COVID-19 cases in Uttar Pradesh, the state government has decided to reopen all schools from Monday onwards. Additional Chief Secretary Home, Avnish Avasthi, said the necessary order in this regard with instructions in detail will be issued soon. Earlier, schools from classes 9th to 12th and degree colleges in Uttar Pradesh were allowed by the state government to hold offline classes from the 7th of this month. You are listening to the morning news on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Campaigning for Uttarakhand and Goa Assembly elections and second phase of polling in Uttar Pradesh ends this evening. Voting to be held on Monday. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says country's Indo-Pacific Ocean Initiative contains marine resources as key pillar. Quad foreign ministers say they're committed to keep Indo-Pacific free from coercion, denounce use of terrorist proxies. India and Australia to finalize interim trade agreement in 30 days. First phase of budget session of Parliament concludes. Both houses to reassemble on the 14th of March for second part. Government to launch Smile scheme today for welfare of marginalized individuals. Uttar Pradesh to open all schools from Monday amid declining COVID cases. Mughal Gardens at Rashtrapati Bhavan to open for public from today. In cricket, India beat West Indies by 96 runs in third ODI to sweep the series 3-0, and New Zealand women set 276-run target before India in first ODI at Queenstown. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
अपने बिजनेस को बढ़ाने के लिए लीजिए आकाशवाणी का सहयोग और दीजिए उसे बुलंदियों के पंख।
आपका बिजनेस लोकल है या राष्ट्रीय, आकाशवाणी देती है उपभोक्ताओं तक पहुंचने का हर विकल्प।
और अब तो आप घर, दफ्तर या दुकान पर बैठे बैठे कर सकते हैं आकाशवाणी के किसी भी केंद्र के लिए विज्ञापनों की बुकिंग।
आकाशवाणी के विभिन्न चैनलों पर विज्ञापन देना सुलभ और सस्ता।
बुकिंग है तो संपर्क करें 8700014242 पर।
8700014242 4242।
Welcome back. You're listening to the morning news. The government will launch the Central Sector Scheme SMILE, Support for Marginalized Individuals for Livelihood and Enterprise, in New Delhi today. The Minister of Social Justice and Empowerment said the umbrella scheme is designed to provide welfare measures to the transgender community and people engaged in the act of begging. More from a correspondent.
The Social Justice and Empowerment Ministry has allocated 365 crore rupees for the scheme for the period 2021-22 to 2025-26. It includes two sub-schemes: Central Sector Scheme for Comprehensive Rehabilitation for Welfare of Transgender Persons and Central Sector Scheme for Comprehensive Rehabilitation of Persons engaged in the act of begging. The scheme strengthens and expands the reach of the rights that provide the targeted group necessary legal protection and a promise to a secured life. It also focus on the aspect of social security by emphasizing on providing medical care, education, occupational opportunities and shelter. Under the Comprehensive Rehabilitation for Welfare of Transgender Person scheme, there is a provision to provide scholarship to the transgender students. There is also a provision of setting up of transgender protection cell to ensure timely registration, investigation and prosecution of offences. Under the Comprehensive Rehabilitation of Persons engaged in the act of begging, survey and identification of beneficiaries will be carried out by the implementing agencies. Bhupendra Singh, AIR News, Delhi.
The Indian Railway Catering and Tourism Corporation Limited, IRCTC, has decided to resume cooked food on all trains from the 14th of this month. IRCTC in a statement said that with the requirement of travelling passengers and easing of COVID lockdown restrictions across the country, IRCTC is all set to resume the services of cooked food in trains. Talking to AIR News, Union State Minister Railway Rao Sahib Danve said,
लगभग 428 ट्रेनों में पके हुए भोजन के रूप में बहाल की जा चुकी है। कोरोना में हो रही कमियों को देखते हुए 21 दिसंबर से ही करीब 30% और 22 जनवरी तक 80% पके हुए भोजन की सेवा बहाली प्रारंभ कर दी गई थी। प्रीमियम ट्रेनों राजधानी शताब्दी दुरंतो में पका हुआ भोजन पहले ही 21 दिसंबर को बहाल किया था और 23 मार्च 20 को कोरोना वायरस महामारी के कारण सुरक्षा उपायों को देखते हुए खान पान सेवाओं का निलंबन कर दिया गया था।
And now let's listen to our special program, Azadi Ka Safar, highlighting the importance of the day during the freedom struggle.
Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. Birth of a Nation. India's glorious freedom struggle is one of the greatest struggles the modern world has ever witnessed. AIR News brings you a glimpse of the struggle every day. It was on 12 February 1922 that Gandhiji called off the non-cooperation movement.
After the Chauri Chaura incident, Gandhiji realized that the people were still not ready for a sustained non-violent movement. He did not want the movement to degenerate into a violent struggle between the police and angry mob. Gandhi appealed to the people to leave the path of violence and went on a fast.
I will fast as a penance for my part in arousing such emotions, and I will not stop until they stop.
He decided to withdraw the non-cooperation movement. Gandhiji believed that after a certain duration of struggle, there should be a resting phase during which people could recover the power and rise again more powerfully. Thus, on 12 February 1922, the Congress leaders met at Bardoli and a resolution to stop the non-cooperation movement was put to vote. With the passage of this Bardoli resolution, the non-cooperation movement ended formally.
February is also the day when the Bardoli Satyagraha was started in 1928. In 1925, the Bardoli Taluka in Surat, district of Gujarat, was hit by famine and the farmers were adversely affected. Ignoring the plight of the farmers, the British government in the Bombay Presidency increased the tax rates by 30%. Despite petitions and appeals from the farmers to review this unjust hike in tax rates, the government decided to go ahead with tax collection.
In January 1928, the Gujarati activists Narhari Parikh, Ravi Shankar Vyas and Mohanlal Pandya talked to farmers and solicited the help of Vallabhbhai Patel. Patel had earlier guided Gujarat's farmers during the Kheda struggle of 1918. Patel agreed to take on the leadership role only after getting assurances from the farmers of the resolve to the movement. While addressing a gathering of farmers, Vallabhbhai Patel said,
"I still ask you to think twice before you take the plunge. Forget me and forget my companions. Fight if you feel that you must resist oppression and injustice. Do not take the plunge lightly. If you miserably fail, you will not rise again for several years. But if you succeed, you will have done much to lay the foundations of Swaraj."
Finally, in a meeting of farmers at Bardoli on 12th February, it was resolved not to pay the revised assessment and no tax campaign was launched.
During the no tax campaign, the taxpayers did not pay the revenue even at the cost of attachment of their property. They boycotted government officers and remained absent from farms. Farmers resisted eviction and confiscation in unique ways. They had informers in the government offices who would give prior information as to if and when a Japti notice was going to be carried out. The whole village would then move to another place and the officers would be faced with an empty village when they arrived to confiscate the property.
The volunteers came from across the castes and classes. They also worked for the betterment of the landless labourers. A large number of women also took active part in the movement. Although the movement was local, it received nationwide attention and support.
Fearing things could go out of hand, the British government set up the Maxwell Broomfield Commission to look into the matter. Finally, the raise in tax rate was reduced to 6.03%, and the peasants were returned their confiscated land.
Sardar Patel credited Gandhiji's teachings and the undying resolve of farmers for the success of the Bardoli Satyagraha. People across the nation recognized his vital leadership. It was women of Bardoli who bestowed Vallabhbhai Patel with the title Sardar.
That brings us to the end of this episode of Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. See you in the next episode tomorrow.
Best wishes to all consumers for Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. Hallmark ensures purity of gold. Always purchase hallmarked gold jewelry. For any consumer-related complaints, please contact National Consumer Helpline's toll-free number 14404. Issued in public interest by Department of Consumer Affairs, Government of India. Jago Grahak, Jago. The Mughal Gardens at Rashtrapati Bhavan will be open for the public from today. People can visit the garden between 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. except on Mondays. It will remain open till the 16th of March. President Ramnath Kovind opened the annual Udyan Utsav of Rashtrapati Bhavan on Thursday. Visitors will be allowed to see the gardens only through advance online booking. The booking can be made on www.rashtrapatisachivalaya.gov.in. In cricket, India defeated West Indies by 96 runs in the third and final ODI in Ahmedabad last night to complete a 3-0 series whitewash. After opting to bat, the hosts were bowled out for 265 runs. Shreyas Iyer played an excellent knock for India, smashing 80 runs off 111 balls, while Rishabh Pant registered a half-century with 56 runs off 54 balls. Pacer Jason Holder took 4 wickets for West Indies. Chasing a target of 266 runs, the visitors were dismissed for 169 in 37.1 overs by the Indian pacers, while Mohammad Siraj and Prasidh Krishna bagged 3 wickets each. Deepak Chahar and Kuldeep Yadav took 2 wickets each. Earlier, India won the toss and opted to bat first. The hosts had already won the 3-match series by taking an unassailable 2-0 lead. India won the first ODI by 6 wickets and the second by 44 runs.
In women's cricket, chasing the target of 276 runs set by New Zealand, India were 100 for 2 in 23 overs in the first one-day international in Queenstown when reports last came in. Earlier put into bat, the hosts were bundled out for 275 runs in 48.1 overs. Susie Bates scored a brilliant ton, making 106 of 111 balls. Indian women's team had won the toss and opted to field. The 5-match ODI series will provide the visitors valuable preparation before the ICC World Cup, which will also be played in New Zealand from the 4th of March. ODI skipper Mithali Raj is keen to provide the team a winning start in the 50-over campaign, which is crucial ahead of the World Cup next month. Now let us take a look at the weather forecast for today. The national capital Delhi is likely to have mist. The temperature will vary between 8 and 23 degrees Celsius. Mumbai will have mainly clear sky. The minimum temperature is 19 degrees Celsius, while the maximum is expected to be around 31 degrees. Chennai is likely to witness generally cloudy sky with light rain. Kolkata is predicted to have mainly clear sky. Srinagar recorded a minimum temperature of -2 degrees Celsius and a maximum is expected to be 13 degrees. Jammu will also have mainly clear sky. Leh noted a minimum of -14 degrees Celsius temperature and maximum to be -1 degree. Gilgit will also have partly cloudy sky. Muzaffarabad will have mainly clear sky. Visakhapatnam will have partly cloudy sky with haze. The minimum temperature is 19 degrees Celsius, while the maximum will be nearly 30 degrees. Bangalore is likely to have mist. Hyderabad is predicted to have fog or mist in the morning and partly cloudy sky later. Imphal will have generally cloudy sky with light rain. Shillong will have partly cloudy sky. The temperature will hover between 5 and 15 degrees Celsius. Aizawl will have partly cloudy sky. The minimum temperature is 7 degrees Celsius, while the maximum will be around 21 degrees. Kohima will have generally cloudy sky with light rain.
And now an overview of today's newspapers. Quad leaders take up Indo-Pacific. Ukraine leads Hindustan Times. Tara Sons clears second term for Chandrasekharan, informs Business Standard. On the hijab row, the Tribune writes, Supreme Court says will list matter at appropriate time. The Asian Age, quoting the Supreme Court, writes, we watching will definitely protect constitutional rights. In run-up to Punjab elections, sons become poster boys for candidates across party lines, notes the Indian Express. Roof of Gurgaon Society building collapses, 2 dead, reports the Asian Age. The Statesman quotes Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman as saying budget will bring stability to economy. And finally, players set to hit paid dirt like never before at IPL auction. Well, the Pioneer writes that this year's auction might witness the maximum number of Indian $1 million buys, 7.5 crore rupees and above, with more than 10 cricketers set to cross 10 crore rupees bid range and some expected to hit close to 20 crore rupees.
And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Campaigning for Uttarakhand and Goa Assembly elections and second phase of polling in Uttar Pradesh ends this evening, voting to be held on Monday. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says country's Indo-Pacific Ocean Initiative contains marine resources as key pillar. Quad foreign ministers say they are committed to keep Indo-Pacific free from coercion, denounce use of terrorist proxies. India and Australia to finalize interim trade agreement in 30 days. First phase of budget session of Parliament concludes. Both houses to reassemble on the 14th of March for second part. Government to launch Smile scheme today for welfare of marginalized individuals. Uttar Pradesh to open all schools from Monday amid declining COVID cases. Mughal Gardens at Rashtrapati Bhavan to open for public from today. In cricket, India beat West Indies by 96 runs in the third ODI to sweep the series 3-0. And New Zealand women set 276-run target before India in the first ODI at Queenstown. And for details of these stories and more, log on to our website www.newsonair.gov.in and News on AIR app. And with that, we end the morning news. Have a nice day.